Holy cow! Welcome to Donnie's Hangout Adventures. Now, I don't talk a lot about baseball, Major League Baseball, but I do know a lot about the history of the sport. I used to watch baseball all the time. I still, from time to time, will watch the World Series. I grew out of love with baseball when the strike happened in I think like 93, 94, and the steroids, that have really been out of control with Major League Baseball. So I do know a lot about the sport. Trust me on that. And, so when you're starting spring training, every player's goal, don't let them kid you, is to have one of the best seasons, to make the World Series. That's the way it should be in every sport. NFL, your goal is to have one of the best seasons and reach the Super Bowl. NBA, your goal always should be have one of the best seasons, reach the NBA Finals, and maybe win a championship. Nobody sets out and says, let's have one of the worst seasons in history. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to equal the 73, 74 Philadelphia 76ers that won only 9 games in the entire season. The only time that's been equaled was the strike-shortened year when the Bobcats won 7, so I don't really count that. But nobody wants to equal that. No, they do not. Nobody wants to go 0-16 like the Detroit Lions did and the Cleveland Browns did. Or 0-14 before it was a 16-game schedule. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Nobody wants to do that. No, they want to have great seasons that are remembered. Unfortunately, there's been some bad seasons that teams have had. And the White Sox, if you're a White Sox fan, I apologize. I'll apologize up front. The Cubs, only like a few games above 500, are having a better season than the White Sox. That is pretty bad. When your team's barely above 500 and you're having a better season than the White Sox. The White Sox have been historically bad. Major League Baseball has been around. It's one of the longest sports for over 100 years. And nobody has seen a season this historically bad. Before I get into the White Sox and some history they have set, they have a starter on the White Sox. His name is Chris Flexen. He's 2-14. Think about this. 2 wins, 14 losses. Wow. He has an ERA that's almost 6. He's like 5.73. He only went about 3 1/3 inning here in this last game they lost. The last 20 games that he started, this is historic. This is historically bad. The last 20 games that he's taken the mound, that he has started, the White Sox have lost every game that he has started. That is historically bad. And let me tell you, the White Sox are bad. They have 31 and 108. And wow. Are they the worst team in Major League Baseball history? Damn close. Real damn close. Now, they're at 31 wins. Okay, so they will not. There's a record that's unbreakable because you have to really be worse than the White Sox are. The 1899 Spiders they only had 20 wins and 134 losses. Okay. That's why they separate these records, old records and, modern day records. So they will not equal the Cleveland Spiders. They're so bad that team is defunct. That team of 1899 folded up after they completely sucked their way to a 20-win season. Okay, so they won't be worse than that team. But some of the teams that they could be worse than, let's see, the Philadelphia A's, Oakland A's, or what do you want to call them now, they went 36 and 117 in 1916. With 1935 Braves, Boston Braves, they went 38 and 115. They'll probably pass that team too. Has only 7 wins away. I mean, that's pretty bad. 1904 Washington Senators, 38 and 113, and another team from the Philadelphia A's in 1919 went 36 and 104. Unless they go on a winning streak, which I don't see it right now, they're on a 10-game losing streak, and these are all teams that they could pass as the worst team in history. They very well could, unless they start winning some games really soon. Because right now they're on another long losing streak. They've got several stretches this year where they lost 10 games or more in a row. And the record that they're going for, if you're going to suck, do it in style. If you're going to suck, do it in style. The 1962 Mets. Now, this team can be forgiven because they were an expansion team at the time. This was their first year of existence. So, the 62 Mets could be forgiven. I'm pretty sure they were an expansion team at that time. Everybody remembers the Miracle Mets of the 60s. This team, they were 40 and whatever it was. They were really bad. 40 and 120. Not 40, 120. My math was a little bit off, and I forgot to write it down. But nonetheless, be that as it may, they only had 40 wins for the entire season, so they were really, really bad. And another thing is the White Sox are 48 and a half games behind first place, which is astronomically, historically bad. There haven't been many teams. I don't know if they might be able to reach it. They might be able to. There's only been a couple times in Major League Baseball history where a team trailed by 60 games at the end of the year. Of course, the one is the 62 Mets, and then, the 2008 Baltimore Orioles. They're the only two teams in history that have reached that 60 games behind first place. That's how historically bad they are. Is not many teams have reached that plateau of 60 games. And by the way, the Mets, I did write it down, were 40 and 120. So I did have that right. So, and at home, they're bad. They're at home, they're 18 and 54. They're barely better than they are on the road. On the road, they only have 13 wins, so they're historically bad, and their attendance is just bad. They've shown pictures of the people in attendance, and it's 80% empty. Nobody wants to go watch the White Sox, who are historically bad. I mean, it's almost so bad that it makes you want to laugh how bad they are. And they are bad. The season can't end quick enough for the White Sox. Nothing has went right this year for them. That it's so historically bad what they have done. There's only 2 teams in history that can say, hey, we were the worst team. 1899 Spiders, 20 and 134, and the 62 Mets at 40 wins. But you know what? Some of these other teams, they can take a claim for being the worst team ever, too. I mean, there's some really bad. And the thing is, you see a lot of these teams that are historically bad, a lot of them are from over 70 years ago. That's how historic this is. And you don't want to go out and do this. They have fired their manager. They have an interim manager. There's no hope for anybody on this roster. There's no hope for anybody on this roster. You might as well just bust this team up, because they could be worse next year. They could have I don't know, they can equal what they did this year, but my God, they're horrible. I don't know if they're going to reach 40 wins. That's going to be hard to do. They could set the modern day record for the most losses in a season. That's 120. They're at 108 as of recording this. They're only 12 losses away. And the way that the White Sox lose a lot, unfortunately, they could break that record. Last year in the NBA, we had the Detroit Pistons. They lost 28 games in a row. Now, I don't know if they're going. The White Sox, the one record they haven't touched on losing is the Baltimore Orioles. It was like 1988 or something like that. That lost 21 games in a row. Of course, that was to start the season that they did that. And I don't think they'll equal that. Well, they could, if they keep on freaking losing the way they are right now. You know what? All hell the White Sox, who have had the worst historical season in history of Major League Baseball, which is just unbelievable. If you're a White Sox fan, I apologize. Me and Mom are saying that's all for now.
That's all for now.